All right. What's up, guys? I wanted to put this together mainly just to go over the in-home and section this off into 3 different categories, just like how we've been training into 30-minute intervals. But the very first thing is just knowing how to get the introduction to the appointment, so that way they know why you're there and the psychology of the sale and everything. And so basically, this is the first 5 minutes that we're going to cover in this video. The next video is going to cover the next 5 minutes, which is you getting the inventory and collecting the information on what client is going to need. And then the last video is going to be actually me closing and what order I put the numbers, just a recap so you guys know exactly what to do in the first home. And then you just call me to basically cement it and make sure that that is the right product and everything. And so I'm gonna get started, and when you first get into the home, I always want to come in there with a smile and make it seem like I have a purpose. I'm the leader. I am gonna help them, lead them into a solution today. And sometimes they're all stiff and whatever, and so I just match that energy. If someone's like, I come in, I'm pretty happy, but they're just like pissed off, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Easy to match. And so you want to match that energy, and then you want to figure out exactly why you're there. The way I do it is I always say, hey, I know we talked a little bit on the phone, but if you could just remind me again, what was the main thing that you were looking for to take care of for the life insurance? Or what was the primary purpose for your life insurance today? Ask either one of those two, let them answer, and then we just follow the in-home agenda, and they're going to tell you what the main purpose of why they had you out there. After they then tell you, or if they don't tell you, you then want to dig a little bit deeper and figure out, well, let's say they didn't tell you. You say, no worries, I know you just want prices. Did you know if you wanted to get your funeral costs taken care of, burial costs taken care of, maybe just wanted to leave extra money behind for your family, replace your income? What was the main goal? And so if you look up here on the in-home agenda, what I'm looking at, it's going to just follow along and make sure you figure out a good reason why you're there, and then you ask even deeper questions to clarify that why. So for instance, do you have something like this in place right now? They say, well, I just wanted to check out prices. Do you have something like this in place right now? Do you know who would be picking up the pieces? In other words of saying, hey, who's the beneficiary on your guys' plan? That's basically getting a very clear picture of why I'm here. If you guys have maybe your cousin's the one that's going to be taking over all the payments if something is to happen, okay, that makes sense. I'm here to make sure that if you were to pass away, your cousin can get a life insurance in place, so that way he can keep paying the bills and nothing changes. The other things, you want to continue to increase the why by asking, has anything happened, or has anyone passed away recently, made you look into this? Has anything happened? You get any crazy accidents that made you look into this? Anything happened recently, like maybe not in your own family, but indirectly somebody else? What kind of got you guys that brought me out here? You know, what kind of got this whole thing going that brought me out here? No, nothing. I just basically, if they give you absolutely zero reason, then I say, that makes a lot of sense. That's just like most of my clients. They just want to make sure they can lock in a rate. So that would, because they know as time goes on, like tomorrow, you know, next month and so forth, I guess you only get older, and so the price just can continue to go up. It's all based on your health and your age is always going up. And so then you recap if they have zero reasons, and you say, that makes sense because you have basically zero reasons and you just wanted to get prices. You want to get the prices to lock in the rate. Most of the time they actually have a reason. They say, well, for my grandkids and so forth. That makes sense. And so you just want to make sure that we could leave something behind for your kids, say you were to pass away unexpected, or just in general always, for no matter what. But you recap by telling them the why. Again, you can even elaborate even more and asking, awesome, and do you know the cost of those things? More why. You're figuring out more details behind getting the mission accomplished. And now remember, guys, when I get the why, I haven't even brought any of my papers out. At that point, just to recap, I get into the home, I say, hey, I just do a little bit of writing. Where can we do that? Should only take like 5-10 minutes. And then I sit down, I ask them, awesome, and what was the primary reason that you guys had, filled out that form and had me out here today? They tell you, or they don't tell you, and you elaborate and figure out again. And then you go and you figure out, awesome, have you ever had something like this in place? Okay, and then has anything happened that made you guys look into this again, or look into this now? Boom. Have you another good word and one to write down if you guys are taking notes? You can say, now have you guys just been now has anything happened, or you guys just been procrastinating? And you nod your head. Has anything happened, or you guys just been procrastinating? If they say, no, nothing's happened, so then you can say, Got it. Just kind of been procrastinating then. If procrastination creates urgency, like I've been procrastinating and now I'm not going to procrastinate. And so that's the very first step, guys, is finding the why and using power questions to dig deep and figure out the why. Just the first step of getting the intro done. After you now have a very clear vision of why, you're here to help them because they almost got in an accident and they want to make sure they have this in place. Now you start your actual presentation where you bring out your license and you build credibility, okay? And so the way we do that, I'm going to pause for a quick second as I pull up my paperwork. All right, back at it. So then I get a good why, so I figure out, got it, makes sense. Well, I'm going to be able to help you guys out. Before I get started, that's how I do it. I want to make sure that they know, hey, before I get started, it's almost like I haven't even started yet, but the presentation started at the why, right? And so the next step is, awesome. Before I get started, guys, here's a copy of my state license just so that you know who I am. I even pointed at them. Down here is the license itself, so you can always look me up. Into that government website, you can always plug in these numbers just to verify that I am who I say I am. But I'll put my name and phone number up here, and so it's super simple. That way you guys can always get a hold of me. I'm just down the road, okay? All those things that I just did, look away, look forward, that's things that builds credibility because I'm not there. I'm just showing them. That's what I'm doing with this license. Before I get started, here's a copy of my state license. Down here's the license itself. You can always get a hold of me. You can look me up into that .gov website. Adds credibility when you say .gov website, and plug in these numbers down here. When I say plug in these numbers down here, it creates their eyes to have to look down here, and it's just a game of control. I'm trying to keep control of the conversation, so I tell them to look over here. You can plug in these numbers into there, and that's how you can confirm. Now, guys, you can always call me. I'm going to put my name and phone number. I just live down the road. I look down the road like I live down the road. If it's only 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, I'm like, it's only 20 minutes down the road. Boom. Builds that credibility. After you've done that, I go, that makes sense, guys? Perfect. Now, because of that license, that's my transition. Awesome. Because of that license, that just gives me access to nearly all the different insurance companies inside of Washington State, inside of Florida State, inside of Texas State. If I'm doing it virtual, it gives me nearly all the access to the companies there in Texas or in Tennessee, Florida, doesn't matter. When I'm in the state, I say, and it gives me access to nearly all the different insurance companies. These are just a couple. All of them, as you can tell, A-rated. I'm sure you can recognize a few. And I want them to nod their head and they say yes. And I point to Aflac because it's a very high recognition company. And then that leads into the rest, right? Like maybe Aetna, Marico, Mutual of Omaha, or AIG. But main thing, guys, I tell you about all these companies because I want you to know our goal is to find the most affordable option for you guys. And then main thing is you can't just get approved for the product or approved for the insurance. You actually have to get you can't just buy it. I'm better said. You have to get approved for it. That's what I say. I say you can't just get approved for the product. You have to, or better said, you can't just buy the product. You have to get approved. If long as they know that, then that's a really good point. So recap. Awesome, guys. Because of that license, that gives me access to nearly all the different insurance companies. I'm sure you can recognize a few. They're all A-rated. The main thing is I show you all these companies really just so that you understand I'm going to find the most affordable option for you guys. And you can't just buy the insurance. You actually have to get approved for it. Okay? You could rewind and do that again, like the triple click. That's the play right there. And then you say, does that make sense? Yeah. The way I do that is super simple. I just go about 2 to 3 minutes of questions on your health and financial history, and then I look at it this way. They don't need to be distracted. Does that make sense? The way I do that is I go to 2 to 3 minutes of questions on your financial history and then your health, and then I'll know which company is going to be a good fit for you guys, okay? Now, have you guys ever, at that point they get it, they're down, they want it. Now, have you ever applied for an insurance plan before? They say yes or they say no. It's super simple. You get it. You've had it before, you get it. It's super simple. You've never done this before? Okay, well, it's super simple. All we do is basically get an ID copy of how you'd be paying for the plan. In 2 to 3 weeks, guys, you're going to get your plan, and it's really simple. Does that make sense? Boom. And that's it, guys. I'm going to do a recap on that last bit. After you figure out, awesome, I'm going to ask about 2 to 3 minutes of questions on your health and financial history, and then I'll know which company is going to be able to approve you guys. And at the end of the day, they are the ones that let you guys know if you're going to get approved for the plan. Have you guys ever applied for coverage or done something like this before? Yes or no? Well, it's super simple. All they need is an ID and then basically how you'd be paying for it. And then in a couple of days, you guys will get your paperwork and get your approval. But it's that simple. Sound fair? And then that's basically the setup to now starting to do this application. And so, yeah, I hope that helps. We'll divide it into 3 different sections. The first one is telling them what you're going to do. The first 5 minutes and telling them what you're going to do. That's what this video is about. So I hope that's helpful. And we're going to make 2 more of basically asking the inventory. And then the next one is closing. So I hope that helps, guys. I'll talk to you soon.